Okay, third time's the charm. I am coming live on day 7 of 8 of the launch. And you know what? Regardless of whether this goes off or not, I'm putting it up as a video. We've tried this live 3 times. So hopefully, hello, Julie, we can get you on. So we're here to talk about the impact of your personal brand on your business. Would love to have, I've got beautiful client that I worked with, Julie Cockerill, in the wings, ready, but Instagram is not letting us do it at the moment. So fingers crossed we can make it happen this time. Ooh, yay! Is Julie there? Hello.
Okay.
Yay!
Okay. It appears that it may have been my desktop as opposed to my phone. So I apologize for that. I am an Instagram scroller, not an Instagram expert. So that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining. And I said, regardless of whether you joined or not, I was like, I'm putting this video up and I'm just going to shout out to Julie and then I'm going to just go and have a coffee. You look gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. I wash my hair.
You always say that. I haven't seen you for a while. Hey, have you got your cards there? Your Rafiki Mwema?
Yes, I do.
So we used to do this thing where we pulled a card and we would always get the same. Let's see if we can do it today.
Ooh, spooky. I think I'm going to go for this one.
Different, but I love that one. Can you read it to us?
Nothing crazy, incredible, and out of this world ever happens inside your comfort zone. Don't we know that?
We do. I got a different one, but it's a beautiful message. It says, billions of people on this earth and none of them are you, except you. That is your superpower.
That is that is so right. That is so right.
Today. It's a message. I'll put it up on the story after. So these are beautiful Rafiki Mwema affirmation cards that my gorgeous clients in my one-on-one program receive. And Julie and I had this thing where we kept choosing the same card, and then I had the pleasure of having your gorgeous sister Sam in my course, and she and I pulled the same card the other day, and I was like, what's with this family?
Spooky. We're all intertwined spiritually. Yeah.
I love it. So I'm going to ask you that big old scary question of who are you? Can you please introduce yourself to everyone here?
So, look, I'm a business owner. I'm a mum of 2. One is a young adult. One is a late teenager. I have 2 fur babies. I have a husband. You know, he's kind of last on the list. And I would say I'm a lover of the outdoors. I love adventure, and I think as I get older, I get more and more interested in being in that space that sort of fills me with energy. So that's kind of who I am. I'm also a Piscean with an Aries rising, and as a Piscean, I need water. I need that sort of energetic vibe that water and sea gives me. And as an Aries moon, I need lots of projects. I'm like a bull in a china shop. So yeah, definitely.
I love it. And so can you tell us how we first met, actually how we know each other?
Yes. Look, we met, I was just starting my business about 14 months ago, and I was probably like a deer in the headlights. So, you know, I was unclear. I was probably all over the place. You know, I kind of thought I've got 30 years of experience with this, you know, everything, this big bucket of stuff I can do, and not a huge amount of real sort of sense of clarity around my identity and the kind of businesswoman I wanted to be. And so I joined Business Chicks Business Club, and that first call where I was trying to describe myself, you know, I could just feel all the eyes on me, and I, you know, this is so uncomfortable. And then you popped up and you were talking about, your brand and what you did. You just had this energy and this vibe about you. I thought, I just feel so drawn to you. And I think I need just a little bit of what you have. And so I remember reaching out to you and saying, I don't know what this brand thing is. And so, when we talked, you just said, maybe we should do some work together. And I went, yep, that's exactly what I need. It became clear to me immediately. And I think, the other things you said to me were, look, we'll work on this. It'll be about 3 months. And I'm like, what? 3 months? I need this problem solved now. And it took the full 3 months. I needed to go through a process to get clear on who I was, what I stood for, how do my values play out, what's the language I use when I talk about myself. That clarity and that process was so important to me sort of getting back my power, which I kind of felt like I'd lost at the beginning of starting this journey. Yeah.
Thank you for summarizing that so beautifully. It was such a joy, and that energy. And I do remember your first message. It was so nice to have you say, yes, I need the help. But it is interesting that you say that. I think people do come and that's kind of maybe the instantaneous world that we live in as well, is that it's like, no, I want to do it now. But, when we're talking about who we are and you're unpacking potentially 30 years of work, and however many years of living, just reconnecting with that and pulling all those pieces together, it has to be done in a process. And even when I've been chatting with people over this past week, it's that, but I think I have all these bits. And as somebody who's been through it, I mean, you've done stuff like strengths training, like you teach people some of these things, like you take people through it, but it's very different when it comes to you, isn't it?
Oh, so, look, and I know I've done quite a lot of work on myself. I mean, I'm a lifelong learner. That's one of my core strengths. So I am all about learning but I want to do things quickly. So actually taking the time to step back and go through some of the beautiful process that you laid out for me was amazing. I remember you saying to me, let's talk about your colors. And I'm like, what? What do you about the colors? Or what's your spirit animal? I'm like, what? Spirit animal?
What about?
But what I loved about it is it actually gives you language. It gives you descriptive language that just helps you to create connection to your story. And it does it in a way that's not boring, and hygienic.
Yes.
That's what that was the thing that gave me beautiful descriptive language. And actually one thing I thought about later was when I was actually doing my logo and my colors and my brand. Two of my beautiful colors are front and center in my brand. Yeah. And that was absolutely perfect for me. That's exactly.
Yeah, and it doesn't always work out that like that, but the way your pink and your green, I always remember, they came out, and then and I know that when you came to me, it was that whole like, no, I don't want to talk about me. Like, I've got to work on the business. The business has to be out there. This has to be out there, and that thing of, and I use the example quite a bit, but without using your name all the time. But it was that thing of because you want to grow the business, of course, and you want to have people in the business in the future and have a team. So there was that conflict of you like, but I don't want to be front and center, and I don't want people to only think that they're going to work with me. So I won't put myself forward. It has to be the brand that goes forward. Yeah. But, the reality is you are starting the business. You did start the business. You always will have started the business. You're the founder. And right now, while you're growing it, the way you're going to grow it is through your connection. And it was that thing of like, oh, I do need to be, put forward.
And I think, one of the things you said in one of maybe it was the first attempt to try and get this technology, but the thing that I did not realize, and probably because I hadn't thought about it, was that you've got a brand. That brand is out there. regardless of whether you've been purposeful about creating it or not. And you know, I had really been sort of swimming around the background in that brand. I had not been purposeful. You know, one of the big things I got from the program was not only the language and the connection and the clarity, but I had no social media presence. I had no connection to my audience. I was not creating a dialogue at all. And so, you know, one of the things that I was able to do, you know, from this process is gain confidence around, you know, where is my audience? You know, what are their issues that I'm going to solve for them? And then how do I create the connection on a regular basis that, you know, helps me help them understand who I am and how I'm going to help them. So, you know, I now post every day on LinkedIn. You know, I've got a very sort of programmatic approach. You know, I'm getting much stronger and more confident. That's just second nature now. Bang, 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 done. And that consistency is so good. And one of the, you know, one of the things that I found amazing about that is that I have people reaching out to me to say, you know, you inspired me with that post. You know, I love reading your posts. You know, your quotes are fantastic. Your I love that you've prompted me to think differently. And that is something that just feels, you know, because that's the work I want to do. I want to inspire people. I want to do good work. So that's just one of the great things that I got from working with you. Yeah.
And I'm going to change that end of that slightly to I am inspiring people and I am doing great work, because I love your stuff. I love it. And I'm like to the point where I'm like, I'm such a proud mama duck, like, you know, like a little duckling out into the world and seeing your posts on LinkedIn. And I remember you were such a great success story in this respect, because you know, when you first put up a post, which was very daunting, I remember you feeling so anxious and, Emma, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I think you were like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to push it. I'm going to go. And then you, like, instantaneously, or at least the same day, got a beautiful message from someone being like, oh, hey, Julie, it's so nice to see you again. Like, oh, I haven't seen you for a while. Like a colleague or someone from the past who hadn't seen you because you hadn't been putting up content of your own. And then now, and then, like, I don't know, within a week or so, you're getting like so many interactions and so much engagement on your posts, like more than mine. I was like, hey, Julie, what's this? And people love them. And I actually told a story about yours the other day where you're using now, you're understanding that connection between the personal and how you can relate it back to business when you share those stories of like when you climbed Everest Base Camp. And you know, and when you were talking about the outdoors before, I really, you know, it's just right there. Like, yeah, she loves the outdoors. She climbed a mountain, you know, but then how that relates to business. And so that's that sort of people, oh, how do I do business? How do I do personal? It's like, you know, here's something that happened in my life. And then this is what I've learned from it, you know, and you tied that and married that so beautifully. And I was just like, oh, so proud.
And from doing that, you know, that's not a burden for me. That's just plays into, you know, what I love to do, which is write and create. And so that's, yeah, it's really feeds my soul. And it's wonderful.
That structure though, wasn't it? Like at the start where you were, I think
very much.
It looked like and felt like it was going to be a lot of work. But once we discussed, you know, the structure and that consistency, which I love that you've said that word, when you understood the consistency, but also you got the reward of showing up. And I think some people don't necessarily get the reward. They're putting things out there and they're like, nobody's looking. And it's like, but you don't just put up one thing and then expect to get business from it. Like it's a relationship building. It's like the classic networking rule you don't do. You don't walk into a room, hand out your business card and walk away. You build a relationship. You show up week after week. You meet those people again, and then maybe in a few years you might do business together, or if fortunate and it really clicks, you might do business together quickly. But you still got to show up, and you've got to be consistent.
Yeah, you do, and I think, you know, being a business owner is like anything. You know, it is like training for a race. You know, it is about having a plan. It's about, you know, looking after your well-being. It's about consistency. It's about, you know, doing the hard things that you don't love, like picking up the phone and, you know, calling people and making appointments. And hey, you know, I'm fantastic. Love me. Listen to me. I can help you. You know, so that it feels hard, but at the end of it, you've got a great story to tell. You've got great experience, and you know, you've got proven, you know, proven work, because the outcomes that you've created for clients has been really good. It's been really successful.
And that, you know, I was listening to something yesterday. I was listening to a Tina Tower podcast I'm going to share, but it was like that whole not giving your offer, you know, not putting your offer out there. It's like it's a disservice to your community. And there's another saying, which is like selling is serving. So if you're telling people how to work with you, you're serving them. Like you were this secret. People didn't know how to work with you, like didn't know you had a business. And it's like just as simple as, hey, I have a business, you know, or hey, did you know I offer this service? Oh, information, you know.
And I think you know, you're right also, because sometimes when you put stuff out into the ether, or in my case LinkedIn, you know, sometimes you don't get any feedback, and that in itself is feedback, right? It's just a matter of, okay, well, that didn't get the kind of level of response. You know, tomorrow will be different, and it is always different. Every day is different. And so I don't, you know, when I first started, it was like, I'm going to die. You know, this is terrible. It's so embarrassing. But actually, I just don't think about that anymore. You know, I put information out there that I think is going to serve my audience and, you know, draw connections with people. And I love that sort of mindset around service, that it's not about selling, it's about serving and bringing your value to the fore. And that's, yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest changes I've made over the last 14 months.
Absolutely. I just, you know, like you said, I remember you being so terrified, and, you know, you are such a system sort of person and process. And when you got that, but also you gave it a go, like you just gave it a go. And to hear you say that it's now easy or effortless, or it's just part of what you do, like you don't even think about it. And then that you're also getting that lovely reward. And then you get the fun part of being like, oh, how can I say this? Or, oh, that really picked up. Or, oh, this thing happened today. I can share about that, or I could talk about that. And, you know, you're having fun with it. And you can see that in your content. And I also love that you've chosen LinkedIn, because that's a misconception. You don't have to be in all the places doing all the things. Being an influencer is like my biggest comment. I go, I don't want to be there. It's like, no, like showing up means just being there for your audience, even just putting yourself forward for opportunity, like even emailing someone and saying, hi, hello, here I am. You know, that even is that confidence building that people don't realize that they've lost.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, that you know, being really clear around where the market is and what, you know, who you're trying to serve. For me, LinkedIn is really the market that I play in, and that's because it's, you know, it's in that sort of corporate space, and obviously, you know, some of those corporate people are on Instagram, they're on Facebook, but I can't have a scattergun approach, because I would honestly spend all of my time doing social media and not really doing what I need to be doing, which is, you know, serving clients and earning money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even that, you know, even that showing up in the business and being able to do that, that's something that, you know, sometimes it's that, oh, the business is coming, like seeing you put your website up, you know, seeing you like, you know, keep putting yourself forward on LinkedIn, and then putting yourself forward for opportunities. You recently run a podcast, you
Yes.
know, that sort of thing. That's something that a year ago, I think you would have probably, no.
No, and even, you know, starting to build the wellbeing side of my business, which is, you know, sort of my personal obsession. You know, it is it's a labor of love, or it's no labor. It is just love. And it's, you know, it's where I get energy from. And so when I do that work, you know, I get to talk about it. Yeah, so much joy, so much joy. It is, yeah, it's amazing. And so I do. I got an opportunity to run a masterclass on emotional intelligence. And as I was running that, I had a guy from the US who actually does a lot of work in customer experience, and he rang me out of the blue and said, I'd love to do a podcast with you. I'd love to know more. I think my audience would love to know more. And it was so generous, and I was so excited about the opportunity. Whereas prior, I would have gone, oh my God, you know, I can't possibly. But honestly, as soon as he said, you know, do you want the opportunity? Yep, I'm there. I'm
Yeah,
there.
I
Love
love
it.
it. I love that. That is just such a huge shift for you,
Yeah.
and it's so feel like I just get so much joy from seeing your content, seeing you up there. And you know, you'll have that experience too. I think when people when we first were putting, like, you know, putting your website together and putting some of that messaging, it did feel a little clunky and a bit unsure, but as you've been practicing and as you've been putting it out consistently, it does get clearer. And then when you find that thing that you're really in love with, or that thing that, you know, you go, I know this is making an impact, I know that emotional intelligence has to be talked about, I know that well-being is number one, then you just, it's effortless, isn't it? Like it just comes. But it's because of that practice that you did, and that kind of wading through you. I mean, you've come from, like you said, 30 years of working in corporate and working in this way to now working for yourself. Like, that is a transition, and that is going to take that work to push through it. And I love seeing you do that.
Well, I think, you know, where I first started from was probably a place of fear. You know, if I try to narrow things too much, and you know, I'll end up in a situation where I won't, you know, have enough opportunities. But it's in fact when you get the clarity and the focus that you're able to better position yourself, and it's less confusing for customers. But also, you're not trying to be everything to everyone, which is friggin' exhausting, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
exhausting. Even with the website, um, you know, I will continue to refine that as I've, you know, continued to refine my offerings, which are just yeah, getting more and more narrow, which is awesome.
It's so good. And it's so good. And you just do have to start, don't you? It's
You do.
sometimes that starting before you're ready. And I think there was some of this thing when we were working together, you were doing so much amazing work, but it was all in the background. It's like, this is awesome, but nobody knows about it if we don't put it out there. And if you wait till it's ready, and it came up so much in a conversation today, it's like progress over perfection, done is better than perfect. It's up there. And the beautiful thing about this digital world is that, like, you can so quickly and easily make a change, and you can do that brand audit and go, actually, that website, no, I don't really like to say that anymore. Or, oh, my LinkedIn bio, I'm saying it more this way. Okay, there you go, you know. So it's just that it can be such an easy change, and it can
Yeah,
be fluid.
absolutely. So fluid.
I'm so proud of you. And it was my joy to work with you and to see you. You know, I think sometimes a misconception is when you work with people is they think like, oh, we're going to start working together and we're going to work together forever and I'm never going to be able to fly on my own. I love, you know, it is truly so heartwarming when someone goes through the program, comes out of it, and then actions those learnings themselves, and then that you're just flying. Like, that is just the best.
Yeah. Look, I actually think that's right. I mean, I think people come into your lives for a reason. You know, I've got my big personal philosophy is what's for you won't pass you. And you were meant to be, you know, my guide during that sort of early stage, so to set me on the path. And I've been really lucky to come across some really amazing people that have helped me do that. One of them has just joined, Andrew Buto, who is my business coach, and
Ah,
you know, he's the other sort of guide that I've been lucky enough to work with. So, you know, with people like that, you've got your support team. And that's what you need. I think, if you want to take your business to the next level, you've got to work on your brand. You've got to be consistent with your messaging. You've got to have the right support crew and, clarity. And that's kind of where I feel like I'm at.
I
Yeah.
love it. That is true. It is just hard, like, because it was always within you. All of this was in you. Like, you're
Yeah.
brilliant. But, and like we said, you've done so much work, but bringing all those pieces together and getting to see I keep saying wood through the trees, like, it's so hard to do that work on your own. So having the support and the guidance, it's in you. We just got to get it out.
Yeah, and I think, probably when you're first starting out or you're trying to transition or grow your business, you're worried about cash flow always. Always thinking about what's coming next, what's my pipeline. And you often think, no, I can't invest in that. That doesn't feel important enough. But I can tell you from my experience, had I not invested in, the program with you, I wouldn't have, the clarity of my brand that I have now. If I had not gone down my coaching path, I would not have the clarity I have now. So sometimes when you kind of feel like I can't afford it or I shouldn't spend it is probably the time when you should to get that breakthrough that you need. And I think that the branding thing, because I'm selling me as a product, if you were marketing, your affirmation cards, you'd be thinking about how am I going to brand this? How am I going to market? You would do the same for yourself. Absolutely, you should do the same for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and it's that shift of mindset of thinking about that. I love it as well. It's a great way to position it too. Is it's like the client is not the prize. I am the prize. I am the service. There is, you get to work with me. They get to work with you. Like, what an amazing gift to get to push yourself forward. And it is really that investment as opposed to spending money. It's an investment, and it's sometimes not always as transactional as some things. You buy Xero, yes, it's going to help your accounting service. You buy software for your, Microsoft software, you can see how that's exactly going to translate. But, sometimes with these things that are more about you, it feels like, oh, well, I can't justify it because it's personal. But when you're the product or you're the key service provider, that, you don't want to put yourself as a product, you do need to be able to sell yourself and sell your service so that you can do the work for the people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an investment in self, but it's a business expense. It's an investment in your business. It's a tax deduction.
Yeah. So yeah, June 30. Let's sign you all up. June 29, I should say. But no, I love that you took that step, and it was at a time where I know there was a big shift for you, and I just love it. I love seeing where you are. I love hearing you speak. I just think, the air that you have, it's so beautiful. It's been a joy and a pleasure to have you in my world. And thank you for being such an advocate as well. Can you tell us how we can connect with you? We've mentioned LinkedIn, but tell us a bit about how we can connect with Julie Cockerill.
Yeah, look, I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, and I also have a website, which is www.lemon-co.com.au. Now, story behind Lemon Co is I'm a fixer, right? I'm a problem solver. I work on transformation. So, it's personal, it's business transformation, and so when I was thinking about, the name for my business, When Life Hands You Lemons, Make Lemonade, was the perfect sort of metaphor for who I am and what I do. And so Lemon Co was born out of that gorgeous statement. And I often change it to say, when life hands you lemons, make limoncello or make lemon pie. What flavour of produce you need in your life at that time. So I do have a website. I'm active on LinkedIn. You can email me, julie@lemon-co.com.au. And, you know, I work in sort of two main spaces. So I work with individuals in a coaching program capacity. So I coach others. And then really the majority of the time that I spend with clients is really around well-being, leadership and sales transformation. So they're kind of my my buckets that I work within, and I love doing the different types of work. You know, you can work with people at varying levels and get very different outcomes. And you know, I think everything that I do is all about working with, you know, individuals. So even if you're working on a massive transformation, you know, you are working one-on-one with people in every capacity. So, yeah.
I love it.
That's,
It's so brilliant.
yeah.
Seeing your brand out there makes me so happy. Thank you for your time today. Thank you to all the beautiful people who have joined and watched. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, pop your comments or questions and connect with Julie and I. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Julie. You have the most beautiful day.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Mwah.